Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Football Suite Chat Show. I'm your host Leon, as with me always is my co-host Richard and head of social media Andrew. The topics for this week's show are match analysis from the weekend's games, players surrounding referees. We've seen that recently players have been, especially in the last 2 weeks, that players have been surrounding referees to get decisions. It's been quite big in the media, and obviously responses on social media have been quite dramatic, as it were. The second topic would be, should managers get more trust from fans and owners? We've seen fans be quite impatient at the moment with their managers and getting the sack. And the final topic will be battle for top four. Who's going to get top four in the Premier League? It's going to be quite an interesting race towards the end of that. We'll get to the first topic, which is match analysis. And Andrew, do you want to start us off with the Arsenal score?
Yeah, sure. It was 3-0 to Arsenal. It was, for me personally, a very typical Arsenal performance. There was really good spells, but then patches where the team didn't look as if it had it anymore. So quite inconsistent in play. But I mean, all in all, it was a decisive win. I think a lot of Arsenal fans would have been happy with it.
Yeah.
And like I say, if you look at the table now, it's a big impact 3 points now because it's caught City up so much.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
In terms of the performance, I think West Ham are on the beach, which is fair play. Like that's fair enough because obviously they've worked really hard, and now they've got a bit of relaxing time. So I mean, I think if Arsenal had played West Ham maybe 3 months ago, I think it may have been a different game.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think it was a typical Arsenal win, and quite comfortable at home.
Yeah, definitely. And also we've seen Olivier Giroud get some bad press recently, but he's certainly silenced his critics with that performance, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to say well done to him because Arsenal obviously, as a lot of people do talk about, don't have that number 9 finisher. So for him to kind of start stepping up is really impressive, and it makes you obviously quite happy to see any player get in form. Because then you start to appreciate how good they actually are.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get on to the next match. Obviously, that was a really good performance in Arsenal. If they hit this form regularly, you could see them challenging for the title. Touchwood not, but obviously. We'll go on to the next result. Was I wouldn't say shock result, but certainly unexpected by the amount of goals. Manchester United 3-0 Tottenham. What did you think of the match, Richard?
Dare I say it? Man United of old. Probably the first Manchester United performance, an actual Manchester United performance since Fergie left. Just straight from the kickoff, high tempo, passing the ball forward, players playing to the strengths. I think this is the first time in a very, very long time that I think that every single Manchester United player on the pitch had a great game. From back to front. I mean, Maybe the first 5 minutes, Phil Jones was a little bit shaky, which is understandable.
Do you think maybe the defence had a bit of a day off, considering Tottenham didn't really show anything up top? Or do you think United's attack was just so good that Tottenham couldn't get anything?
United just blew them away. United did what United used to do, and the first 20 minutes of the game was over in the first half an hour. The first chance they got, they put it away. The second chance they got, they put it away. They were the first to every ball. Every 50-50 they were winning. The defenders were... I mean, if you look at how many times both Kane and, when he came on, Adebayor, were coming back into midfield to try and get the ball because there was just nothing for them. I think it was an absolutely superb performance from Manchester United, and if they continue to play like that for the rest of the season with the games we've got, then there's a chance we could not even obviously win the league, but finish second and not just scrape the top 4 like most people say we're going to do. I think that performance was just unbelievable yesterday.
Yeah, it was definitely a great performance by United, but do you think that was really highlighted by Rooney playing in striker instead of the sort of centre mid role he's been playing in the last few months actually, and Fellaini really pushing forward a bit more instead of being that holding midfielder that Van Gaal seemed to play him in?
I think the Rooney situation, I mean, I think it's by chance that he's playing up front with Van Persie's injury.
Yeah.
I think if Van Persie wasn't injured, I don't think Rooney would be playing up front. So I think that's just actually by chance.
Do you think that could change though after seeing that performance against a really good team in the Premier League?
I think it'll change. I think I think Van Gaal's been trying. Well, he is being clever about it. He's basically trying to say to the board, to whoever it is that's making the decisions on purchasing players, I'm not desperate for a creative midfielder. I'm having to play my best striker in midfield.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers going back to the start of the season, when we actually played MK Dons in the Carling Cup or the Rumbles Cup or the Chicken Curry Cup or whatever it's called these days, he basically put a team out and said, this is what's going to happen if my first 11's not available. The vast majority of that team, bar, I think, De Gea, maybe Ashley Young played, I think. But the vast majority of that team are now no longer at the football club. And we then went on and spent 150, 200 million pound on talented players. I think that's basically what Van Gaal's trying to say. He's already been out in the press and said he's looking for a midfielder, a creative midfielder. And he's basically saying, look, I've not got one. I'm having to play my best player in midfield. You need to back me in the summer and get me what I want. And that way then I can play my best player up front where he's supposed to be playing.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously it's taken a while for Fellaini to really sort of gel into the team. But do you think after that performance it really could kickstart his sort of United career, as it were?
I'm glad Van Gaal's given him a chance. I mean, there's nobody else like him in the Premier League. I don't think there's anybody that does what he does, and he's a great asset if you use him correctly. The vast majority of the time, Everton used him correctly, and he was a bully. He was a threat. He'd score goals. He'd get in and amongst people. I don't know why, but when David Moyes bought him for United, even though he'd spent 5 years playing him to his strengths, when he brought him to United, he didn't play him to his strengths. So he didn't look the player that he was. I mean, is he world class? No, he's not world class, but he's a good player. And you put him in his position where he can do what he did yesterday, and he's a threat all day long. And to be fair, who wouldn't want to play off Marouane Fellaini? Wayne Rooney was loving it yesterday. Ashley Young was loving it yesterday. The fact that Michael Carrick could just sit back, play the ball about, play his game, not worry about having to keep getting forward, dropping back in because he knew that Fellaini was going to be picking up them positions. Who wouldn't want that in the team? And I think I'm glad that Van Gaal stuck with him and give him the opportunity to show not only the United fans but show the Premier League that he wasn't a £27 million panic buy.
Yeah, definitely. Great analysis of that match, and obviously of United as well. Being a United fan, obviously you can see how the team's been improving over the season, and like you said, could be a kickstart towards a good finish in the Premier League and a good start next season. The next match we'll go to is Chelsea-Southampton. Obviously, for those who don't know, I'm a Chelsea fan, and I watched this match, and I didn't. Considering Southampton are a good team, I didn't think it was a bad performance from us in the second half. In the first half, I don't think we showed much. After the goal, it seemed like we got the goal and sat back. But Southampton didn't really offer anything going forward. And, they didn't score a goal out of open play. It took a penalty. Controversial, but, I give referees a sort of like a hard time. But I think he did get that decision right. And a few decisions obviously weren't great, but that's Premier League refs for you. But at the end of the day, I think 1-1 was a fair result at the end of it. Did you guys manage to see any of the highlights or anything?
Yeah, I actually watched the game.
Oh, yes. What did you think of it?
Classic being knocked out the Champions League hangover for me. If Chelsea qualify for the if Chelsea beat PSG during the week, they probably put 4 or 5 past Southampton. And they go on and comfortably win the league. Well, win the game, go 8 points clear with a game in hand, and you don't look at anybody else possibly winning the Premier League. But I just think it was a Champions League hangover. I think Chelsea have. I think the most disappointing thing is, and we'll obviously get onto it later on in the show, but it's the bad press that Chelsea have took this week. That can't help your preparation. It's bad enough being knocked out of the Champions League. It's bad enough being knocked out of the Champions League when you play against 10 men for as long as you did.
Yeah.
It's enough being knocked out of the Champions League when twice you lead in the game and you look like you're destined to qualify for the next round.
Don't rub it in, Richard. Bloody hell.
Yeah. I'll just sit here and just wipe away the tears. But also, like you were saying, I was obviously at the PSG match, and it was quite similar to the Southampton match. I don't think we offered a lot going forward, and obviously got punished when you lose focus for a second and you get punished. But I think because you could tell by Mourinho's reactions to the sort of some of the shots that we were missing, it was like it was the sort of I've told you about this sort of look. It was the how many times do I have to tell you sort of look, and you could see how much it was frustrating him. But do you think it could also be sort of they haven't really had a chance after the League Cup to celebrate yet, or do you think that could have come into play yet?
I don't think so. To be fair, I think they're professional players. They know that they can celebrate at the end of the season. And what would you rather do? Celebrate winning the Chicken Curry Mickey Mouse Cup, or would you rather celebrate winning the Premier League? I know what I'd rather do.
I don't know. Ask MK Dons, but
hey, look, it's a trophy for the small teams, isn't it? That's the good part about the Chicken Curry Cup is the small teams get to the final, and
definitely. Small teams get to the final. Yeah, definitely.
Like your Chelseas and stuff like that. So it's a day out for you at the end of the day, isn't it? It's
100%. Next topic. Right, the next match we'll go on to is quite a match that could have determined the fate of Gus Poyet. Obviously, news reports suggest that he has been holding talks with the Sunderland board regarding his future. These are all sort of maybe not, so not a definite. But Aston Villa 4, Sunderland 0. What did you guys think of the match?
I was a bit shocked, really. I don't even think the hardcore Aston Villa fans would have had it down as a 4-0 win before the game. Especially
a 4-0 win so early as well. They really did sort of like steamroll Sunderland.
I just don't know. I don't. It's one of them at Sunderland. They never ever seem to kick on. They seem to buy all these players, and we're talking good quality players. I mean, you got Fletcher up front, who's a proven goal scorer. You got Jermaine Defoe, proven goal scorer. I mean, I know he's not playing at the moment for circumstances, but you've got Adam Johnson. The less said about that, the better. Operation U-Tree. You've got John O'Shea, you've got Wes Brown, you've got Phil Bardsley, you've got Cattermole. These are good players. These are seasoned professionals. But there's just something about Sunderland Football Club where they seem to have a few good games, or they have a good half of a season, or they go down to the Championship and they blow the Championship away and they straight back up to the Premier League. But there's just something about Sunderland where they never ever really kick on. But they still get to attract these players, and that's maybe it's because they are such a big club in the North East. Obviously third to Newcastle and Middlesbrough, but I'm only joking. I'm going to get some stick for that one, aren't I? I just think, they're a football club that's got all the potential in the world, with quality players, and a proven good manager. He's done well. But that's another thing. They go through a manager after a manager after a manager. I mean, the Canio came in and they beat Newcastle, and it's the best thing since sliced bread, and he's going to take them into Europe and he's going to do this. They had a few good games, they faded away. Poyet comes in again, they score a few goals, they win a few games, they It seems to be if they beat Newcastle, that's it. They're happy for the season. We beat Newcastle at St James's Park. We've had a good season. Well, no, not if you get relegated. It's not. And the vast majority of your players are probably going to have relegation release clauses in the contract. So it's going to be extremely difficult for Sunderland to come back up if they go down, because I can't imagine the likes of Fletcher, Defoe, John O'Shea, Wes Brown. These players will be snapped up by teams in the Premier League.
Yeah, and often by teams that have just been promoted as well.
Yeah, either promoted teams or the likes of Hull City or Leicester City, or these teams that get relegated come back up. For a Hull City or for a Stoke to sign the likes of John O'Shea or Wes Brown or Phil Bardsley, it adds that little bit extra to your team. It adds that experience. Dare to say it, pardon the pun, with Phil Bardsley. It adds that knockout punch, so to speak.
Tush.
There you go. I'm here all week. Try to veal.
No, definitely. Definitely what you just said. Yeah, but it seems like Sunderland, they seem to always be in a, I don't know if you agree, Andrew, but they seem to be like this annual sort of relegation battle, and then the new manager comes in and saves them. It just seems like it's repeat every year, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, the history books kind of in the last few years kind of prove that point. They have kind of a manager merry-go-round at least once a season. And I feel sorry for the fans, because they get like 45,000 people into that stadium for matches. And
yeah, they get good support, and obviously seeing your team like that, must be heartbreaking. And obviously we saw that definitely with the response to the loss yesterday or the day before. It was fans were leaving the stadium after like 20 minutes. I mean, I haven't seen that much before at all.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, people in the northeast, they like to voice their opinions when they're obviously not happy. And as a football fan, the best thing you can do is you use your legs and you walk out, and you just leave, and you say, we're not putting up with it. And that obviously has an effect, because the board, all the directors and the owner, they don't want to see people leave it after 20 minutes. So it does have a chain effect to then go back to all the manager and the team.
Yeah, definitely.
Straight into the town centre to punch some horses.
Oh dear. No, we don't all have that view, people. Just Richard. Right, we'll get on to the next topic now. Great discussion and analysis on the matches there, guys. But players surrounding referees. Recently we saw it, and obviously it got hyped up with the Chelsea PSG match, where the players surrounded the referee after a challenge by Zlatan Ibrahimovic on Oscar, or as we've seen from after, vice versa. It seems to be Oscar the one that actually challenged Ibrahimovic. But the main topic being players crowding the refs and making the decisions. What do you guys think of this? Obviously we saw it in the match, and it was really intense, but don't you think every team does it?
I think every team does it in every league, and I think I don't often agree with Graham Souness, but I think it's come more and more into our game, the more and more foreign players that have come in, because that's how they play. That's their style of play. It's classed as good football. It's classed as doing well to get another player sent off, and it was ironic that Graham Souness done it, and then obviously the Chelsea Instagram account tweeted a picture of him running on the pitch and crowding the referee with his players. Don't you think this is a little bit hypocritical? I think look, it happens. Every team does it. It happened again at the weekend. It's going to continue to happen, because I think the problem is it's because 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, the referees get the decisions wrong, and that's the issue. Is, I mean, look, everybody could see the only reason why Ibrahimovic got sent off is because of the Chelsea players' reactions. Simple as that. I think I tweeted about it during the week. John Terry was that concerned about getting a player sent off to try and win the game. He stamps on his own player's head, who's lay on the floor. Now, everybody afterwards was, why is Oscar rolling around on the floor? He's hardly touched him. he wasn't rolling around on the floor because he hurt his leg. He was rolling around on the floor because John Terry stood on his head. That's why he's rolling about on the floor. And that's the thing with it. It happens a lot at Chelsea. Because of the style of players that they've got. They've got a lot of foreign players in the team.
Yeah.
You know, look at the United Arsenal game in the FA Cup. Everybody going mad about the referee, but Di Maria dives for the first yellow card. He deserved to get sent off because regardless of whether it's happened in the past or however you go about it, he touched the referee and you can't do that.
Yeah.
Some referees will accept it. Some referees will laugh it off. Some referees will give you a yellow card for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Great opportunity in the game to equalise, to go 2-2, and he decides to throw himself on the floor to try and win a penalty. It's cheating. He deserved the yellow card.
Yeah.
So you know, that's the style of football that we've got. We've got players constantly trying to fool the referees because they're not. It's not and we don't like it because it's not the English way.
Yeah, definitely. But also, I was sat like for the PSG match. I was sat in the Matthew Harding lower, literally just behind the corner flag. And when I saw that challenge happen, and you could hear that challenge happen, so everyone thought, you know, oh, that's a really rough tackle. But from what I could see, I thought Zlatan took him out, but I don't think Zlatan saw him coming because obviously Oscar came from the side. You know, and maybe that's what the players thought. I don't know. But obviously after when we've seen it, it looks like, if anything, Oscar fouled Ibrahimovic. But what did you think of the reaction, Andrew? Did you think it was just ridiculous, or did you think the players did have, you know, reason behind it?
I have a little bit of sympathy with the Chelsea players because when I watched it on TV, I reacted as if like there was a real injury there because, like you say, like the collision and kind of people could hear it and stuff. So for me personally, I mean, just as a neutral watching it, I thought, oh, he's really hit him there. And like, so if I was a player, I would probably react quite like if that was my teammate, I'd be like, you can't do that. What's going on? And
also, Ibrahimovic didn't really sort of bring a sort of defence out. He sort of just stood up like, I've done it. You know, it wasn't much, you know, reaction from him. But obviously the main topic here is the reaction of the actual players crowding the refs. And, you know, have you seen it happen at Arsenal? You know, is there a way that you think that this could stop happening?
On Talk Sport the other day, which is quite interesting. It was what they use in rugby, where if there's dissent towards the referee, so for this instance it'd be a free kick, the ref can put the ball 10 yards forward, you know, into the attacking area. So the free kick is actually moved forward. You know, if the defenders are like having a go and stuff, the referee can then say, I'm going to actually put this team further forward upfield to bring you more of a threat. And I think that could possibly work. What do you think of that?
We had that in the Premier League, didn't we?
Really? I can't remember.
Yeah, we've had that before. We had that a few years ago. What was it for? It was for exactly that. It was for dissent, wasn't it? If the referee felt you were intimidating him, he could move the ball 10 yards forward. Why it got taken out, I don't know. Because obviously it did.
Maybe they thought it was an unfair advantage, but obviously, you know,
it's another one of them rules, isn't it? I mean, if you remember, not too long ago. I mean, when I say not too long ago, Paul Parker was still playing for Manchester United, and that's how long this was. But they brought in a rule in the Premier League in the early to mid 90s, where every challenge from behind was a straight red card. Regardless of whether you won the ball, if you went through the back of the player to win the ball, it was a straight red card. And I think in the opening weekend of the season, especially in the United game, I think there was 2 or 3 red cards.
Yeah,
and I think it lasted for. I don't think it lasted very long because I think they realised, well, hang on a minute, we're going to end up finishing games with 7 or 8 men here.
Yeah, and obviously in a league where, you know, tackling such a big impact, you know, we have such like strong defenders who like to dive in for challenges. You know, it's going to struggle in a league like the Premier League.
I don't think they're gonna be able to stop the players crowding round the referees. I mean, it's happened for years. There's the famous incident when a referee gave a penalty at Old Trafford, and the Roy Keane and Jaap Stam and the poor referee. I don't think the referee reffed again after that. He disappeared, probably because Roy Keane and Jaap Stam probably put him in the back of a car. But it's not going to stop. It isn't going to stop, and until it's the same with diving and things. It's not going to stop until something severe happens.
Yeah, and obviously the referees do actually have the power to stop these things from happening. It's just we don't actually see it happen a lot with refs. If you're rude to the ref or react in a way that he finds intimidating, he has in his power to give him a yellow card. Now, if that happened every time,
just brandish the yellow card.
Yeah, if that continued to happen,
straight yellow card.
Yeah, if that continued to happen, I'm 100% sure we wouldn't see incidents like this. Okay, the players might go off in a strop, but they're going to strop anyway. A decision's gone against their way. That's just it with football. Unfortunately, players at the moment act incredibly like children. They just don't, everything that goes against them, they feel like the ref's picking on them, and that's the way that football is nowadays. So, sometimes the referee has to take a stance on it. Obviously, not everyone's going to like it, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would prefer that to see players crowd the ref.
Yeah, I just think it's part of the game now, unfortunately, and it's one of them where it's just not going to stop, regardless of whether you want it to or not. It's part and parcel of football, and it isn't going to change. But it's part of our game, as diving is, as doing anything they can to con the referee into getting a decision their way. It's part and parcel of football now, and I think it's one of them where we're just going to have to learn to live with it. But then again, it's gives us topics like this week in, week out for us to talk about. If they took all the controversial decisions and things that happen in football out, what would we have to talk about?
Cricket.
I don't think so.
No, good discussion on that, guys. We'll jump on to the next topic now. Should managers get more trust from fans and owners? Obviously, Andrew, you're a fan of Arsenal, and over the years, the fans really have been having a go at Wenger. And, it hasn't brought him success, but people seem to forget the past and what Wenger has won. Do you think managers should get more trust from fans and owners?
Yeah, I do, actually. I think we've lost a lot of good managers early on in this country through not having enough time to develop and get their skill. Like, for me personally, AVB is a good example of that. I don't think he was given the time that he deserved.
Yeah,
being so because he did so well in Portugal. So I think, I'm all for giving managers time. Like, of course, it's a talking point and it's a massive part of the game. The managers being sacked, but of course, I want to see every young talent try and prosper. It's just like the kids in a football club. I want to see them play as well, and I want managers, because the whole point of management is all of these are like 5-year plans that these managers have. They've just got to condense them down into 6 months or maybe 18 months. Whereas if you said to a manager, here's 5 years, you can do what you want. Like, it's up to you. And he came out and said to the fans, it's going to take 5 years. The fans would say, "Oh, that's a bit gutting, but at least you've told us, so we know we're all part of this."
Yeah, and you can generally tell by the way that they buy players, their sort of idea, and the way that they go about their business. If a manager comes in and he's buying young talent, you can tell he's a sort of manager that likes to develop players. But it seems like at the moment that a manager, if he's a few bad results and he's on the chopping board already. And obviously we saw it with AVB. He was trying to move everyone out so quick that he isolated himself from the actual team, and it happened at both Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea. So, what do you think of that? Do you think that... but also, I think it's the responsibility of a manager to realise if he's joining a club that's quite, an owner that's quite trigger-happy and ready to get rid of anyone after a few bad results. What do you think?
I think that's just the key of what we needed, transparency with everybody, because that's the problem. Is some owners don't say they're trigger happy, but then when they're put in such a critical position of relegation or something, maybe it does happen where they've got so many advisors telling them that, oh, you should really sack him. But they might do, like, if there was just transparency and people were just saying my plan's going to take 5 years, so the owner knows it and the fan know it, then that's the perfect world, because then everyone has an understanding of how they're going to approach the future, whereas opposed to everyone just, as you kind of say, secludes themselves and doesn't tell anybody what they're doing, and it's all in their head type of stuff. No one knows how long it's going. So like Tottenham fans with AVB were expecting top four and progressing in the Champions League and stuff like that, whereas that might not have been his plan straight away, but because he didn't have transparency and let everybody know, then it didn't work out. That, for me personally, that's what I think is the key to it all.
Yeah, and definitely, obviously, Richard, you'd know just as well as anyone, obviously, Manchester United were ready to get rid of Sir Alex Ferguson at one point. You know, we would have lost one of the greatest managers ever. You know, if the board wasn't if the board was a bit too trigger happy. Do you think?
I think football back then was different. You know, I don't think many clubs were trigger happy. I think the thing is, I think we were discussing it before we came on tonight. The problem these days is you've got owners that are basically playing football manager with our football clubs, and they want to win everything as fast as possible. And if it doesn't happen, the thing is, in football, this is the crazy thing about football. You know, your average 9-to-5 Joe who works in an office in any sort of job, or any job bar football, really. It's the people that are doing the jobs that lose the jobs if it doesn't go well. If you work in a sales industry and you don't hit your sales targets, it's not the manager or the owner of the company that gets fired. It's you. You know, if you're a teacher and you do something wrong, it's not the head teacher or the board of directors or governors. It's the teacher that gets sacked. Whereas football's probably, you know, one of the very, very few professions where if the people doing the job don't do the job right, it's the manager that gets sacked. And that's purely on the basis that a football club knows they can't sack every player. And that's the issue that most managers have got. And I think the problem with United last season with David Moyes is I think he lost the dressing room, and he lost the dressing room very, very early.
But everyone said for years, though, didn't they, like the manager that takes the job after Ferguson who's going to have a hard time.
Well, yeah, it was probably regardless of who had took the job, it still is the hardest job in football.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, is, you know, it's a tough job. I mean, but it's even at the smaller clubs, you know, your mid-table teams, your championship teams. If players don't want to perform, then they won't perform. It's as simple as that. They'll take their wage, they'll go home, they'll have an average day in the office, so to speak, and they'll take their wage, they'll go home, and they'll forget about it because they know eventually the manager will get sacked. I mean, look, let's be perfectly honest. Look at the Aston Villa situation. Aston Villa have been absolutely dreadful this season. Lambert's a good manager. He's good at what he does. All of a sudden, a new manager's come in, and players who were half-heartedly playing football, taking the wage and going home, and now starting to perform.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing as a footballer. Look, it's embarrassing for a football fan. That guy is being paid hundreds of £1,000s a week, a month, a year. They should be given. It doesn't matter who's in charge. Shouldn't matter what the problems are off the field in regards to the dressing room. When they cross that white line, they should be giving absolutely everything for that football shirt that they put on.
Yeah.
But they don't do, and then a new manager comes in and they start being world beaters. I can't remember Tom Cleverley even caring about Aston Villa. Now all of a sudden a new manager's come in and he's had a worldie.
Yeah.
You know, is he now thinking, well, actually, I quite like this manager. I might play for a shirt now. I might see if I can actually win a contract here.
Yeah. And also, like, what we're seeing as well, you know, people are happy to say sort of like cheerio to managers and stuff like that. But then when their team starts doing well, and they're sort of like mid-table, and then they moan about why a team's not producing talent. You know, why aren't we bringing youth forward? It's like, you're not bringing youth forward because players don't have any trust. You know, if same as Mourinho, the way Mourinho's come in, and they're saying, oh yeah, but Chelsea can't keep youngsters. It's like, yeah, because Mourinho has only seen these youngsters for 2 years. You know, if they don't play his style of football, then of course they're not going to come through, which is why they buy people. But I can imagine in 5 years' time, if Mourinho still is at Chelsea, then people will come through. But if Mourinho's not at Chelsea, then it's going to be the same process. You know, you see it at every club. You see players not coming through, and that is down to managers not having enough trust, because how is a manager supposed to develop young players and if he's not getting performance on the pitch, you know, there's nothing he can do.
Well, they start intimidating referees and the under-21s. They'll be straight in the Chelsea first team, won't they? So Mourinho will be well up for that.
Well, it's either that or Falcao in the under-21s, but
hey, look, he's done well. It's good. It's good that Van Gaal give a couple of our under-21s the opportunity against Spurs.
But what do you think, Andrew?
What, in terms of Falcao in the under-21s, or?
Yeah, go on. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think personally it's a great idea, because I mean, think of those under-21s.
No, you don't.
No, honestly, yeah, no, honestly, 100%. Because obviously, like, how are those kids going to play with Falcao like anytime soon? Like, what an opportunity that is, and to develop the under-21s, and think how well they're going to play.
You see, the thing is with that, I think this is the power of the press in the UK, is that every single press reported that was a punishment. Falcao's not played well, so they've chucked him in the under-21s. If you go back for the entire season, half the Manchester United first team have played in the under-21s at some point.
Yeah.
And that was basically to say, look, try and get a bit of confidence, put the ball about, show these young lads what you can do, and try and get scoring touch. I mean, look at Raphael. Been out of the team. He's not been injured. He's been on the bench. He's not played. All of a sudden plays in the under-21s, scores a great goal, has a good game, comes on in the second half against Spurs. You know, Herrera played in the under-21s. Michael Carrick played in the under-21s this season. I think Luke Shaw has. I think Rojo has. I think bar maybe David De Gea, Wayne Rooney, Fellaini, Van Persie. You know, the vast majority of United players have played in the under-21s at some point this season.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It wasn't a punishment for Falcao. Obviously, the issue with Falcao is, unfortunately, he's not turned out to be the world-class player that he once was. And that's just unfortunate. He's had an extremely bad injury, and it takes time to come back from that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll jump onto the next topic. Great topic again, guys. But we'll jump onto the final topic, and obviously a topic that's interesting a lot of people at the moment. The battle for top four. Andrew, why don't you kick us off for this? Your top four.
My top four personally will be Chelsea.
Good lad.
Chelsea to win the league as well. Just add that one.
Yeah, good lad.
Man City second. I'll go Arsenal third, and
Let Richard press you.
The only thing is, I'm just going off current form, which I think we can agree on the form table, and I'd put Liverpool fourth.
Oh.
What do you guys think?
Close, but I do think the way that United have been playing recently, I do think the way that they're hitting form just at the right time and getting players back fit, I think United could just beat Liverpool to it, depending on who stays fit for Liverpool, because I think if Sturridge gets injured again, United could be their season over.
Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think, Richard?
I'm going to shock everybody here. Probably. I think Chelsea are going to win the league. If they don't, then it'll be highly embarrassing if Chelsea don't win the Premier League in this position. I mean, Chelsea will finish top. I think Man United will finish second.
Ooh.
I think Arsenal will finish third. and I think Liverpool will finish 4th. I think Man City will drop out of the top 4. I think the way Man City are playing at the moment, they don't look a threat. They don't look half the team they were last season. They don't look like a team that are gelling. I think the big players are not performing on a regular basis. Vincent Kompany, Joe Hart, Aguero's not really been the same player since he came back from that injury.
No, definitely.
Samir Nasri's not had a good season. I know David Silva's been out for most of the season injured. Yaya Toure doesn't look the same player as he was. He doesn't look happy at the football club.
No, definitely.
And Wilfred Boney's not been. He's not been a good buy. He's not done anything. He's not been a success so far. And I just think that the way Arsenal are playing at the moment, the way United are playing at the moment, and the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, they're playing a better standard of football than what Man City are. And if them teams can... I mean, look, Man City are dropping points left, right and centre. They're not beating teams. They're drawing, they're losing. They're not doing what they were doing last season where they were winning the ugly games. They were not performing well and they were scraping a 1-0 win. And I just think that, with 29 games played, to only be a point ahead of Arsenal and only 2 points ahead of United, who, let's be fair, United and Arsenal haven't been anywhere near the standard of they could be this season, and to be only 6 points ahead of Liverpool, who at one point this season were 10 points, 11 points behind Manchester United. And I just think the way City are playing at the minute, I think they'll fade away, and I think the big turning point is going to be the Barcelona game. If they can beat Barcelona and qualify, it'll give everybody at the club a massive lift. If they don't beat Barcelona, which I don't think they will, I think the manager might go as well. And that's another big thing. Who they're going to bring in between now and the end of the season. I know that there's been talk about they wanting Brendan Rodgers, they wanting Diego Simeone, there's been talk of Rafa Benitez. But I think City will get rid of him because they've not got a chance of winning the league. They're out of the domestic cups and they'll be out of the European Cup.
Yeah, but I agree with both of you two's reasoning. But do you think maybe Southampton or Tottenham have a chance? They're only 1 point behind Liverpool in 4th.
I mean, look, Southampton are 2 points behind Liverpool at the moment. As it stands at the moment, obviously because of
the match tonight.
But they're 6 points behind Manchester United. They're 7 points behind Arsenal. They're 8 points behind Man City. For Southampton to get into the top 4, you're talking Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, and Man City to all fall away towards the end of the season, and it's the same with Spurs. They're 6 points behind Manchester United. They're 7 points behind Arsenal. They're 8 points behind Man City. Spurs and Southampton will drop more points between now and the end of the season than Liverpool, United, Arsenal, and Man City.
But
I just think that gap's just a little bit too big.
But there is 10 games left for some people, 9 for others. But
you've got to look at the goal differences as well. I mean, Tottenham are +4. They're 20 goals behind Manchester United. They're 22 goals behind 22 goals behind Arsenal. So the goal difference is another point or two.
Yeah, that's true. Andrew, do you think this could really, whoever finishes in sort of like 5th, 6th place, do you think that could really affect this next season for that team? Because obviously if Liverpool finish out the Champions League, that's a bit of a big budget gone. And obviously if United do, I don't think United will personally, but if United do, then, that's a huge budget of that gone as well, considering they was really hoping to get back into the Champions League to sort of keep their... I believe that someone said shares up or something, but
I would for me personally, I'd say it's worse for Man United not to qualify, solely because I think a lot of Man United's revenue is dependent on Champions League, whereas Liverpool's will be massively helped by the Champions League. Don't get me wrong, but I think Liverpool do have an infrastructure that can cope without Champions League, as we've seen in the last few years, whereas Man United, they've obviously done the reasonable thing of obviously pushing through and buying all these amazing players while not being in the Champions League. So I think possibly it would be worse for Man United financially if they were not get in the Champions League, and the players obviously, because the players they've got do want to play in the Champions League.
Yeah, and you can imagine they've been promised, next season, we'll be in it. So don't worry.
The new shirt sponsor halves, doesn't it? If United, that's one of the
Adidas. Yeah,
Adidas. It's not a £70 million a year deal for 10 years. I think it goes down to 35 million if they're not in the Champions League.
That's interesting.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money. £35 million is a lot of money. If you add that to the revenue you get, the TV rights for not being in the Champions League, it's a lot of money. I mean, great point from Andrew. Liverpool haven't had that money for a good number of years, so they've not got the foundations where it's going to crumble them if they don't qualify for the Champions League this season, because they're a Europa League team, so that's the budget they've got. That's how they've been for the last few years. This year they've qualified for the Champions League. It's not worked out for them, so it's not the end of the world if they don't qualify for it. Whereas if it's a second season for Manchester United not in the Champions League, that could cripple them.
Yeah, definitely. And also, do you think, obviously we still think that United could bring in a couple of names, and a second season out of the Champions League could affect that as much as a team like United and the stature they've got, it still could affect. I don't think that's the case. I mean, and this isn't just because I'm a Manchester United fan. I think the lure of Manchester United themselves is big enough. I mean, that's been proved this season to be able to bring the likes of Falcao, Di Maria, Daley Blind, Rojo, to attract these players, even down to Luke Shaw. I mean, let's not sugarcoat over things. Luke Shaw's a Chelsea fan. Luke Shaw's born and bred Chelsea fan, and he turned Chelsea down to go to Manchester United. Not only there is he playing for his boyhood football club, but he's playing week in, week out in the Champions League. I don't know about week in, week out. That's the thing.
But the thing is, he's got the opportunity there over the next 5 or 6 years to play week in, week out for his boyhood club in the Champions League for Chelsea. And the fact is, Manchester United are still a big enough football club to attract these players. And I don't think another season out of the Champions League is going to stop them from attracting the best players. Because it is Manchester United, and regardless of what people think about us, we are the biggest football club in the world.
No, definitely, but also we got to look at that point from sort of Liverpool as well. They couldn't attract players, and they were one of the biggest teams in the world at one point.
That's the thing, though. Liverpool. Look, if Liverpool hadn't qualified for European football in the late 80s, early 90s, it wouldn't have made a difference. It has still attracted the footballers because of. They are Liverpool Football Club. They're one of the biggest names in Europe. But the fact that Liverpool haven't been in the Champions League for so long, that's when they've not won anything for a long time. That's when you start to fade away. Look, in 5-6 years' time, if Manchester United aren't qualifying for the Champions League for 4 or 5 years on the bounce, they're not winning things, they're not winning the Premier League, they're not winning the FA Cup, then, the big players start to leave the football club, then They will fade away. They won't be that lure of, well, it is Manchester United, because one season one season of not winning anything and being out of Europe doesn't turn you into a bad club overnight. But if you go on a successful run, like unfortunately Liverpool did, where they went so long without a trophy, they've gone so long without playing in Europe, then you do struggle to attract the big names.
And on that point, do you think it may be even worse for Liverpool considering their sort of experience in Europe this year, or this season? Because obviously it was out for so long and then they came back and just really couldn't handle it. Do you think players might be noticing that, and that might put players off going to Liverpool?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you say, I mean, regardless of what... I mean, look, Manchester United will have promised the likes of Di Maria and Rojo and Daley Blind that they'll be playing week in, week out in the Champions League next season. They'll have said that too. And, look, no player wants to just settle for second best. So they would have obviously made it relatively clear to them that we will look at qualifying for the Champions League. But the thing is with Liverpool, how can you say that to a player? How can you say that to a Di Maria or to a Karim Benzema? Oh, next year we'll be in the Champions League. Well, you've only been in it once for the last 7 years. How can you promise me that? Do you know what I mean? And that's the difference. It'd be the same at Manchester United. If we go a number of years not being in the Champions League, it becomes harder and harder and harder to attract the big name players by saying, "Oh, well, next year we'll be in it." And that's what that's Liverpool's problem is now. They're probably not going to be in it. So how are they going to be able to say to people, "Well, next year we will be"?
Yeah, definitely. Great discussion there, guys. We're going to end the show here, but if you agree or disagree with any of the stuff that we've said, please leave your comments in the comment section. Get involved with us on social media, and thank you.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thanks for listening, guys.